and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Peachy and this channel is all about my Sylvanian Families collection. We're going to be doing a little bit of a different video today as I'm going to be trying to wallpaper a house, or a Sylvanian house, for the first time. Now this is something I've never done before, but I've been watching a ton of videos showing like how to wallpaper dolls' houses and miniature houses and things like that, and I really want to give it a go. So we're going to try today and see how it turns out. So the building I have here is one of the old Tomy buildings, and it's from the early 90s. I'm not going to go too much into what this building is because that will be the next video. Once we've got this wallpaper in, then I'm going to do a proper setup for this building and introduce it and everything. I picked this one because I kind of thought it was an easy shape because these two walls are just flat with no windows. However, I've realised that there's this whole door situation going on and the windows, and I don't know how I'm going to get on with doing that shape. That might be a little bit tricky, but at least these sides should be nice and simple to start with. So the paper that I've selected to use is this one here, and this is 1/12 scale doll's house wallpaper. I got it from eBay, so I'll link the shop because the seller has tons and tons and tons of different wallpapers in different scales and landscape and portrait. So I picked this as it kind of looks a bit cottagey and a bit vintage, and also the pinks in the wallpaper tie in nicely with the pinks in the window and the door, and some of the furniture in this building is pink as well, so I think it will all tie in nicely. Now to do this kind of wallpapering project, you don't need to use doll's house wallpaper. You could use craft paper or any sort of paper really. Probably wants to be a little bit thicker so that it stands up on the walls easier. But I guess it depends if you're going to completely paste it down, or like me, I'm going to use double-sided tape because I don't like to make any changes to my building that are permanent. So I want to be able to, if I change my mind, kind of strip this building back to its original format. So that's why I'm going to use double-sided tape. So that's why I wanted something a little bit thicker so it would stand on the walls with just the double-sided tape and as little double-sided tape as possible. But yeah, as far as I understand it, you can use any sort of printed paper for this. So the choices are kind of endless, which is both exciting and daunting because it makes making paper choices harder. If this goes well, I do want to move on to papering some of my other buildings, but with this I had a very specific vision in mind, and I feel like I kind of knew what design of wallpaper I was really looking for when I was searching for this specific paper. However, with some of my other buildings, I have no idea how I would want to do the interior decoration, and there's so much choice out there. You could just browse and browse and browse. So that's going to be interesting depending on the outcome of this. So the crafting supplies that I have to do this wallpapering project are a ruler for measuring, scissors obviously for cutting, pencils for drawing on. So I've got double-sided tape, but this will be whatever you're going to use to stick your paper to the walls. I've got paper to make the stencils for before I cut into the doll's house paper because I want to make sure that I'm definitely measured it out all correctly. So for me, I'm just using, so this is just baking paper like you'd use in the kitchen, but it's kind of see-through, so I thought it might be helpful with trying to trace out those window sections in particular. And then I also have this cutting board because I am terrible at cutting in a straight line. So you don't necessarily need one of these, but I'm so bad at cutting in a straight line. So I kind of want to use the grid on this to help me with that. But I think that should be everything that we need to complete this project. So let's get started. And I think the first thing we need to do, I'm going to start with these easy walls over here. And then we'll move on to that whole section there because I don't know quite what we're going to do with that, but I think the first thing we need to do is measure out the walls. So for this wall we're looking at about 18 centimeters in length and 14 in height. Because it's rectangular, it should be 18, 14, 18, 14. So that's what I'm going to draw onto my paper using the grid, and then we'll see how that works. So I will use my little cutting board. I'm going to trace it out onto this paper, then I'm going to cut it out, and then I'll be back with you and we can see if it fits. So here's the shape that I've drawn out and cut out, and now we're going to see if it fits on the wall. Okay, so there's a little bit of a gap this side, but height-wise it looks fine. There's just a little bit of a gap on this side of the wall, just here, so we need to add probably about a 1/2 centimetre onto that side, I think, and then that should fit nicely. Yeah, so that's not too bad for a first attempt. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this, draw it onto my doll's house paper, add in a little bit extra all around, especially on that side that's too short, and then I'm going to bring that back, put that on the wall and see where we get to. So here it is on the doll's house paper, and let's pop that in and see. Oh, like a glove. Okay, that was actually not that bad at all. I really like how that looks on the wall as well. It looks kind of just how I was envisioning the wallpaper to look in this building, so that's great. So now that that one is on, I think I'm going to wait to stick everything down until the end in case there's like bits that overlap here or anything. So I think I'm going to take that off for now and mark on the back that it's for the left-hand wall. So I've done that, just put an L on it. And then I think we'll do the right-hand wall. And if I'm correct, the same template should in theory fit this wall. And it does. So what I'm going to do is probably just draw around that bit of doll's house paper that I just cut out and use that as my template, because in theory the left and the right hand wall should be the same. So I'm going to cut that out and we'll see if that fits. So here's the right hand piece of paper, and yes, those two walls are exactly the same, so that's great, and that fits in nicely. So that made that job very simple. So we've got our two left and right hand walls, and now we tackle this. Okay, so I've had a little think, and for this section I'm thinking the best thing to do would be to split it into 3. So one bit round here, around this window, ending where the wall starts to jut out. One bit round this window, ending where the wall starts to jut out. And then this little section, potentially as either 1 or 3 pieces. So either this bit and then these 2 bits separately, or hopefully this bit and these bits on the same template, and then we just put a bend in where it goes out like that. That would be the dream. So the way that I've thought to do this is I put some double-sided tape here, and my idea is I take my baking paper or tracing paper, stick it here to this, and then draw around the door and make like a little trace of the door. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to just really roughly, if it would stick, trace around the door like this, and hopefully that will nicely make us the shape, or at least a good imitation of it, so that I can then go back and add some measurements and things and hopefully come together with a stencil. Okay, so that's the very rough shape of the door, and then I want to add a bit on for these, so let's measure those. Those are about 3 centimeters. So if I do about 3.5 centimeters onto the top and the bottom, that should cover this little wraparound. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to neaten it up, and I'm going to cut it out. So this is what I have been left with. I haven't added the extra on yet because I wanted to try and work out if this was even going to fit. So let's try and pop it on the door. Oh my god. Well, that's looking good. Please work, because I really don't know what to do if this doesn't work. So if I stick that back on that double-sided tape. Yes. Okay, it's not perfect, but that is a pretty good impression for a very difficult shape. So I think what I'm going to do now is trace it out onto the doll's house paper and add a couple of millimeters around each edge, and then we can kind of trim it as needed. But I don't think that came out too badly at all. So here it is on paper, and now I have added that extra bit that I want to go on these sections. So that's an extra 3.5 centimeters onto these parts. And I'm going to pop it there and there, coming up to the top of the door and then wrapping it round. Yes! Okay, so that's worked way better than I thought it was going to. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Yes. Cool, so that was the bit that I was dreading the most. I think if I can do that, I can do these little window bits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same method we just did with this door, and I shall be back with you with hopefully the final fitted shapes. Right, so here is the left hand window bit. Okay, not bad, not bad. So it's not perfect, but to be fair, it's my first time doing it, so I didn't think it was ever going to be like absolutely flawless. But here is the right hand side. I mean, it fits. Again, not perfect, but I think that's pretty good for a first attempt at ever doing this. Yay! So I guess that means it's time to stick everything into place. So I think we're going to have to do this door bit first, and then these window pieces, and maybe I'll do the side panels first of all, because they should be nice and simple, hopefully. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this double-sided tape off that we were using as tracing tape first of all. Okay, so that's now off the walls, and we're going to start with this wall over here. So I've got my left hand side piece. Double check that that's definitely, yep. So I'm going to put some double-sided tape on it. I'm not really sure how much to use. I might do like a little piece like this in each of the corners and a bit in the middle, and that should probably be enough. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so I actually changed my mind with the tape layout, and I've actually done 3 strips, and that'll just be for this panel because this one's going to have a shelf attached to it. There's not going to be anything particularly heavy on the shelf, but I just want it to be a little bit more secure on this side. So I've done these 3 stripes and taken the backing off already, so we're already sticky. And now I'm going to try and get it on the wall without getting it stuck everywhere else. So there we go, that's on there. And fingers crossed that I will be able to get that off again if I want to in the future. But I guess that is a problem for future me. So now I'm going to come over here and do this wall, and I'm going to show you the kind of reduced tape that I'm going to put on this wall, because there's not going to be anything stuck on there except maybe a little picture, but the Sylvanian picture is super light, so it's not going to need to be as sturdy as this left hand wall. So here is the right hand piece of paper, and I've just got tape in the corners and a little bit in the middle, and this is probably the amount of tape that I'm going to use for the rest of the walls that don't have anything on them. So again, I'm going to slide it into the bottom and the corners and hope that I've got it right first time. It's looking pretty good. And I'm just going to stick it down where the tape is, and that's on there pretty well. So that's good. Now onto the trickier parts. And something I did see, if you're using glue and you're sticking like the paper down with kind of glue all over it, if you get like an old credit card or like gift card, something like that, you can actually scrape it along to get the air bubbles out. Obviously with this, because it's tape, there are no air bubbles, but I've seen with glue that air bubbles form quite easily, so you can just kind of scrape the card along to get all those air bubbles out. So now we need to start with this door piece. So this piece here, and I think I'm going to put like a little bit of tape on all the surfaces, but obviously it's quite thin, so it's going to be fiddly, so I will do that now. Right, so here's this piece. You can't see the tape as well, but there's essentially a bit here, 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 and then 2 bits down on each of the bottom sections. And I'm going to, I feel like this one's going to be a bit more fiddly potentially, just because of the shape of the door, and it's got to fit exactly in the shape. So I'm hoping that is about right, and then that bit will come down there, and then do these wraparound pieces. So we've got one over here, one over here, and then thicker ones down the bottom here. This one over here. Not bad, not bad. So now the last 2 pieces, these 2 window pieces, so hopefully these will be a little bit easier to stick. So let's do those now. Right, so here's the left hand piece, and again using as minimal tape as I think I'll need to make it stick. I'm going to try and slot that in around the window. These are just a little bit more fiddly because you have to kind of get it round a pre-existing shape, whereas the other wall you can kind of just make it fit. There's that side in. And then on the other side, again getting it around that window. Like that, and then down and along. And there we have it. I thought I was going to be absolutely terrible at that. I'm usually not very good with arts and crafty stuff at all, but I'm not too upset with that. I mean, obviously the next thing, like I've seemed to have accidentally pattern matched over there, which is amazing, but obviously on this side it's not as good, so I guess the next thing to learn is how to kind of match the patterns on the 2 walls. But overall, considering this is not a very easy shape to do, I'm really happy with that. I think the next thing I want to do is add some little curtains up here for the windows, and it'd be nice if I could find some little doll's house skirting boards to just go around here, but there's going to be so much furniture in here you probably wouldn't really notice it anyway. So yeah, there we go. If there's any wallpapering pros out there, if you've got any tips or tricks, I'd really love to hear them, because kind of I think this is more of a fluke than anything, and obviously this is quite a simple building in that these 2 walls are very easy and this bit is more complicated, but some of the other Sylvanian building shapes are a lot more complex than this. So I'd really be interested to hear any tips or tricks that you might have. If you're new to wallpapering like me, I hope you found this useful as a very beginner's guide to how you could start wallpapering your buildings. The next video I'm going to reveal what this building is, though some of you have probably already guessed from the pink door and the windows. But yes, the next video I will reveal what this building is and we'll do a full setup of it. So So I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye for now.